This is Roxana Sikorski, convicted of the murder of her brother and attempted murder of her sister. On October 17, 2024, 15-year-old Roxana plotted to kill her adopted parents and stabbed her brother in the throat. Roxana was an ideal child until she met 23-year-old Michael Rivera on Facebook. She ran away from home and was later found at Michael's house. Her parent filed a statutory rape complaint against Michael, which was then pending investigation. Due to the rape charges filed against Michael, he convinced Roxana to murder her family. According to report, on the night of October 17th, at about 3 a.m., Michael waited outside the family's home and texted Roxana instructions. She stabbed her 12-year-old brother, Lucas, in the throat and attempted to stab her sister before running off. She was later found at Michael's home. Due to the cold-blooded nature of the crime, prosecutors decided to charge Roxana as an adult. She was eventually sentenced to 20 years in prison. This is Joshua Phillips. At only 14 years old, Joshua was convicted of the murder of his 8-year-old friend and neighbor, Madeleine Ray Clifton. In November 1988, Joshua was home alone when his neighbor, Madeleine, came to play baseball. During the game, Joshua accidentally hit Madeleine in the eye with the ball, causing her to bleed and scream. Joshua panicked. He dragged her into the house, hit her with a baseball bat, and hid her under his bed. Later, after discovering she was still alive, he cut her throat and stabbed her in the chest. For the next 6 days, Joshua fully participated in the search for Madeleine. On November 10th, his mother found Madeleine's body in his room. Joshua confessed and was eventually arrested. Prosecutors disputed part of his story, suggesting a possible sexual motive, though there was no evidence of assault. Joshua was tried as an adult. He was eventually convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This is Evan Miller, convicted of the murder of his 53-year-old neighbor Cole Cannon at the age of 14. In July 2003, Evan and his friend Colby Smith planned to get Cannon drunk and rob him. Evan and Colby stole baseball cards and $350, beat him with baseball bat, and set his home on fire. Evan was tried as an adult and was eventually sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This is Dale Loukaitis, convicted of 3 counts of murder at the age of 14. On February 2, 1996, 14-year-old Dale Loukaitis murdered his algebra teacher and some student at Frontier Middle School. Then he held his classmates hostage until his gym coach subdued him. On the day of the shooting, Barry walked to his school and entered his algebra classroom during the 5th period. Then he opened fire, killing some students, critically injuring another. Then he fatally shot his algebra teacher. His gym coach, John Lane, entered the classroom upon hearing the gunshots and found Barry holding his classmates hostage. John volunteered as a hostage, but then grabbed the gun from Barry and wrestled him to the ground. He then assisted in evacuating the students until the police arrived. On September 24, 1997, Barry was convicted of multiple charges, including first-degree murder. He was eventually sentenced to double life terms plus 105 years without parole. In 2017, he was resentenced to 189 years following a Supreme Court ruling on juvenile life terms. This is Lionel Tate, convicted of the murder of his 6-year-old cousin, Tiffany Eunuch. On July 28, 1999, Tate was left alone with his cousin, who was being babysat by his mother. While Tate and Tiffany were playing and watching WWE SmackDown, Tate's mother called for them to be quiet. Few minutes later, Tate informed his mother that Tiffany is no longer breathing. Her leg, feet, and neck had severe bruises. Tate was sentenced to life in prison, though it was believed he did not intend to murder or injure Tiffany. In January 2004, the state appeals court overturned Tate's conviction. He was then released on 1-year house arrest and 10 years probation. On May 23, 2005, Tate was charged with armed burglary, battery, armed robbery, and violating probation. In March 2006, he accepted a plea bargain and was sentenced to 30 years in prison for violating probation. In February 2008, he pleaded no contest to the robbery and was sentenced to additional 10 years in prison to be served concurrent to his 30-year term.